loves. It's your girl Angelica coming at you live from mi casa. Joining you from my couch, this video in my comfy clothes with my stuffed bear, because this video is going to be a bit of a heavy video. I know that it's been 2 years, wow, 2 years, since I last updated you folks on my FFS journey, and really that's because a lot of things have happened for me in the past 2 years. Some of it good, most of it very challenging and very difficult. And I'm going to go into a lot of it with the time that I have allotted. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, but there's so much to cover, y'all. I'm filming this post-election, and what I can say is that this is a very delicate and dangerous time for trans people in the United States right now. And so I just thought that it was really important to touch base with you folks, to let you folks know what's been going on in my life, in the lives of the millions of Americans that are going to be impacted and affected by this incoming dictatorship. I refuse to call it a presidency. I'm going to refer to it as what it is. Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator, and so he has set out on day one in the White House to roll back and attack trans people and trans youth and come for our rights and roll back and eliminate our rights as Americans. And so I'm going to touch base on that. I think I'm going to start off with what's been going on for me the past 2 years and why it's been a little difficult to film and to record a YouTube video, because it does take a lot. I don't know if you folks know, but it takes a lot to give of yourself and to film and to edit the videos yourself, and it just takes a lot. And so I've definitely slacked in that regard when it comes to keeping up with my YouTube channel. I'm a lot better about keeping up on Instagram, even though I'm now in a space of I may just have to leave Instagram because I'm being shadow banned heavily. And so that's made it really difficult to sort of access my pool of people that follow me on Instagram and on social media. It's made it very difficult to reach folks. And it's also just really dehumanizing to feel as though because I am a trans person, because I'm a person of color, a Latina, that I am being shadow banned for talking about what's right and speaking about things that are directly impacting me, impacting my community, impacting people that I care about. And so that's made it really difficult to want to even engage in social media and online. So that's partially been why I haven't updated you folks on my FFS journey and just keeping you updated on my life and what's been going on. And so I'll touch on my thoughts with my FFS, with my facial feminization surgery that I had with Dr. James Bradley at Northwell Health, Lenox Hill. In terms of my FFS and my results 2 years, a little over 2 years later, I'm feeling good, honestly. I would love to have gone back for a revision just to touch up certain things with my FFS. But unfortunately, in the space that we're in, with trans rights being attacked right now, I'm not sure what the likelihood is that I'll be able to have FFS and to have it be covered under my insurance. I do not know what's going to happen next year and within the next 4 years with regards to gender affirming care for trans people in this country. None of us really know what's about to happen, but many of us do not feel good about the situation. A lot of us, including myself, are terrified of what's to come, how our rights are going to be impacted, how our insurance for our gender affirming care is going to be impacted by this incoming dictatorship. So, that said, I honestly, I would love to go back to Dr. Bradley to do a revision. I just don't know what the likelihood of that is because as a performer, as an actor, I can't afford out of pocket. And with my agoraphobia, my fear of going outside, it's made it really difficult to leave the house. It's been very difficult to sort of open myself up to new job opportunities outside of acting because acting hasn't sadly not paid the bills or poured into me the way that I wish it would. And that kind of goes into what's been going on for me the past 2 years. I've very much been struggling financially to survive, to keep my head above water, but also to sort of uplift myself and become a more accomplished actor. I've found it very difficult to sort of meet other creators that believe in me and that will pour into me. I know that when it comes to being an actor, yes, you have to be talented, you have to have the skill set, but also it definitely helps, y'all, to have a support system of people around you that are rooting for you and that are pushing you for success and for greatness. And in all the years that I've been acting and in all the years that I've enveloped myself in community and met other creators, directors, producers, other actors, I've really tried to network like crazy and engage with other folks so that I too can build my pool of supporters and folks that want to give me an opportunity and believe in me. I've found that so difficult in this industry. I've had very few opportunities to really do what I love, which is performing, which is acting. I have amazing friends like Pilar Adara and Rod Thomas, two amazing performers, and Pilar is an actor, writer, director, producer. Rod is a singer, songwriter, performer, both of which that have given me opportunities to act and to shine and to do what it is that I love and that I have always dreamed of doing. In my biggest heart of hearts, I've always dreamed of being an actor and a performer. And with people like my friends Pilar and Rod, they've really carved out spaces for me to do that and to do what I love. But that aside, I've really struggled to build a real support system of folks in the TV and film world that have the opportunity to maybe grant me an opportunity. I've really found it difficult to sort of build that support system, and I found it difficult to book jobs. As some of you know, I do a lot of background acting, and there's a part of me that loves it because it's like my version of acting school. I get to see actors in their prime, these amazing, accomplished, talented actors do what I've always dreamed of doing. And I always pay attention to the actors who are delivering their lines and how they're delivering their lines, how they choose to take up space in the scene. I pay attention to when the director is giving their notes. I truly, when I'm on set, even if it's a background role, I feel like I'm just soaking up all of the information and all of the energy that is on set, because there is a very special energy when you're on a film or TV set. And so I've really tried to immerse myself in that world and to elevate myself and attempt to book more speaking roles and principal roles. And I'm just not there yet. I've been doing this full time since 2018 when I was laid off from Viacom, and it's been rough. It's been really difficult to find, again, a team of people, a management team, an agent. I find that a lot of these things are only afforded to performers and actors that have already booked speaking roles or have a huge internet following. That is sadly not me. And that has sadly never been me. I've never been someone that people overwhelmingly rally around and support and uplift. I have always, ever since I was a kid, and I apologize if I get emotional, but it's a very emotional thing for me. This is my life, and ever since I was a child, I have been ridiculed and bullied and ignored and neglected and made fun of and made to feel small, made to feel like I don't matter, made to feel like my life doesn't matter, that what I'm doing in the world does not matter. And it still shows up for me in my adult life. This has been going on since I was very little. And so it's been really challenging to sort of live a life where you feel like you're constantly self-advocating and fighting on your own and fighting for space and recognition and opportunities. It is so hard, y'all. It is so hard to try so hard to make space for yourself and to succeed and grow in a world that doesn't want to see you succeed or thrive. Again, ever since I was little, I've just always been surrounded by so many people who chose to hurt me and harm me rather than protect and uplift and encourage me. Yes, there have been few folks in my life, going back to the time that I was a child, that have been a cheerleader for me. but those are few and far between. And so it's just been hell the past couple of years trying to navigate finding job opportunities and feeling as though I have no one in my corner, no one to uplift me, no one to believe in me, when all I want to do is act and reach the world and touch the lives of those that are like me, that are trans and queer and Latin like me, who feel as though there is no one out there that represents them or that is rooting for them. I want so badly to be able to shine and to be the actor that I've always dreamed of being. But it's very hard. It's one of the most difficult industries in the entire world. The rejection rate in this industry, in my opinion, it's like 99% rejection based. A lot of these auditions, unfortunately, do not result in a callback, and you get very little to no sort of criticism or just feedback in terms of what can I possibly do to be a better performer, a better actor, or to bring a different perspective to a character. Just many things just kind of go into the void, and you're just left feeling as though you don't know what you did wrong. Like, so many times in these auditions, I've just felt like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, what was it about me that did not match up with the casting director's vision of the character? And so that's really frustrating. Also, so 2 years ago, I don't think I've shared this with you folks on YouTube. I've talked about this on Instagram and Facebook a lot. But about 2 years ago, so I'd never growing up really had much of a relationship with my biological parent, Johnny. My understanding of Johnny through the lens of my other parent, Lisa, my understanding of Johnny was that he was a drug dealer. I was told this at a very early age, which I'm not sure I really needed to know that information. However, there was just a lot of, and I'll get more into this as I go on. There was a very tumultuous and bitter relationship between Lisa and Johnny, my parents. To my understanding, they argued quite a bit. There was never any sort of resolution or meeting of the minds. It was very much Lisa took it upon herself to sort of excommunicate me from Johnny and Johnny's side of the family. And so I was denied the opportunity to build a relationship with my blood relatives for most of my life. And so 2 years ago, it took me a very long time to seek out my blood relatives because they actually had no clue of Angelica. They did not know that I had transitioned, which I hate saying that because I personally feel as though I've always been Angelica. I always knew who I was. So the argument that a lot of cis, mostly hetero folks have, that trans kids don't know who they are from an early age, it's bullshit, y'all. It is straight up bullshit. Trans kids absolutely have the ability and the capability to know of their transness at a very early age. I myself, as early as 3 or 4, knew that I was trans, knew that I was a female. I was just often gaslit into thinking that I was wrong by the adults around me, by Lisa, by my grandmother Martha, by other adults in my life who constantly would tell me, and Lisa, for instance, often shouting at me, like, you are not a girl, you're a boy. Talk like a boy. I've had so many instances in my upbringing and my childhood where Lisa would scream at me at the top of her lungs, like, you are not a girl, you are a boy. And what do you say to that as a child? You're a child trying to navigate transness, and your thoughts and your soul is not aligning with your body. And here you have this adult, your caretaker, someone that's supposed to be your caretaker, verbally abusing you and harming you and telling you that what you know in your heart and in your soul to be true is wrong. And so for years, I was terrified to reach out to Johnny's family. And Johnny was actually incarcerated for 24 years. And so I had no way of reaching him. I had searched for him on Facebook. I had Googled his name, but I had very little information. Because I just did not feel safe or comfortable talking to Lisa or Martha or anyone on that side of my blood relatives. I didn't feel comfortable or confident asking about Johnny. The topic of Johnny always felt like a very taboo and off-topic, like off-the-table conversation. Like, it just did not feel safe to talk to Lisa about him or to learn about my relatives. And so again, 2 years ago, it took me a while to sort of warm myself up to the idea of possibly being rejected, because I was just led to believe that Johnny was a homophobe and that likely wouldn't accept me. And so Lisa planted that seed in my mind. And so that seed grew into this tree with all of these leaves, all of these thoughts of who Johnny was and who his family was, and how it was very unlikely that Johnny and his family would accept me. And so I lived with that. I lived with that trauma for years, and it kept me from reaching out to my blood relatives until 2 years ago. And it was really spontaneous, and I'd actually reached out to I searched for my aunt, Johnny's sister, because I knew her name. I knew her first and last name, and that's really all I knew. And I also knew that I had siblings, half siblings, and Johnny's first and last name, but that's all the information that I had. So I was going on very little. I had searched for my aunt's name on Facebook, and several names popped up, and I was just like, how the hell am I gonna, how am I gonna know, y'all? Like, how am I gonna know which one is the aunt that I am looking for? And there was one in particular on Facebook who it seemed as though we had physical similarities, but again, how are you to know? Like, there's really no way of knowing unless you ask. And so I had contacted this one particular person who I thought might be my aunt, and I just cold messaged her on Facebook and said, "Hi, I know this is really awkward and random. My name is Angelica. I would just like to know, do you know someone named Johnny Santiago?" And I think it took her a day or two to respond. And when she did, she was like, "Who are you?" Which, fair, right? Because here's a stranger, a complete and total stranger, reaching out to you, asking you about your incarcerated brother. I would be a little hesitant as well. I responded and told her, "So again, my name is Angelica. I think I am Johnny's child. If you are the person that I'm thinking of, I am Johnny's child." And I told her my dead name in order to really click things together for her. And I told her, "Lisa's my mother. This person kept you folks out of my life for a very long time, and I'm reaching out to finally connect after all these years." And I was honestly terrified because, again, I didn't know what I was going to be met with. I didn't know if I would be rejected, if I would be turned away, if they would be disgusted with me. I just had no way of knowing. And the response was almost immediate support. I'd actually found the right person, the right aunt, my aunt. And just how crazy is that for most of my life, being denied access to my blood relatives, and then to find them on Facebook, not even being entirely sure if I found the right person, but I did. And immediately I was met with support and love. And I'll get into why I'm using air quotes later. But immediately I was met with what I thought was unconditional love and support. And I was met with, "We have looked for you your entire life. We've wanted you in our lives. We just weren't allowed to have a relationship with you." And so a lot of things were brought to my attention with regards to Lisa and the extent in which she kept my blood relatives out of my life without my consent. When I was a kid, when I was still a teenager, my aunt had actually come to see me at Lisa's house when I was still a kid to tell me about my sister Marlene and how she'd passed away of leukemia at 15. And Lisa refused to let her in the house, refused to give me the autonomy and the opportunity to grieve that with my aunt. And so moments later, Lisa comes into my room to tell me about my sister Marlene, and I start to cry. And I cried for a lot of reasons. I cried because here was a 15-year-old baby, a girl, dead, and how tragic that is. But I also cried for the sister that I never had an opportunity to meet because adults couldn't get their shit together. Because adults couldn't be healthy, communicative adults and find a way to work it out so that I and my siblings could have had the opportunity to build a relationship with each other as we were children. I was denied that opportunity. And so I cried for that. And I just cried for all the moments that we could have had, but never, ever will have. I will never, in this lifetime, have an opportunity to get to know my sister. And so it was a lot. There's been a tremendous amount of pain attached to my past and my lack of relationship with Johnny and his side of the family. And so I had finally, 2 years ago, had this opportunity to get to know these people that I'm connected to. And unfortunately, because Johnny was still incarcerated at the time, our only method of communication was via scheduled phone calls or emails, which I had to pay for both of. When you're communicating with someone that's incarcerated, you have to pay money to communicate with them, whether it's on the phone or via email. And it's just really trash, and yet another way that this country has profited off of incarcerated individuals and denied incarcerated individuals, and also that of their families, denied them the opportunity and the right to talk to them. And so, and also there are people listening in on these phone conversations and reading these emails that you're having with these convicts. So it wasn't it was just not an ideal situation. However, I was just really insistent and really passionate about finally having this opportunity and this time to get to know my blood relatives and my parent and everything. At first, it was so good. I was so elated and so thrilled and so happy to have finally have felt as though I had a family that loved me and supported me unconditionally. And not only that, my transness appeared to have been accepted. My transness it was almost as if my transness wasn't a factor, a negative factor for my blood relatives on Johnny's side of the family. Johnny was overwhelmingly supportive of my transness, and he was just thrilled to finally have an opportunity to have a relationship with me, same as me. And so I was just so taken aback in a good way. I was so taken aback by the apparent love and support that I was receiving. However, it did not last. Last year, my uncle and my aunt stopped talking to me. And I feel as though it is because of something that has nothing to do with me. It's something that is much bigger than me, and something that I'm not even directly involved in, but yet I was somehow dragged into this long-standing beef and animosity that Johnny has with his relatives, with my aunt and my uncles. I had noticed last year that I was seeing less posts from my uncle on Facebook, and he would post regularly, as did my aunt. And so in my mind, I just assumed that maybe they were taking time from social media, which, y'all, I get it. Like, I sometimes need time away from social media as well. I don't post as much as I used to by any stretch of the imagination. I find social media to be really toxic, and the demand to constantly produce things is very exhausting. So I get it. Sometimes people need to take a break from social media, but that was not the case in this situation. One day I had searched for my uncle's name on Facebook, and it appeared as though I was blocked. His name did not come up, and I was just gobsmacked. I was truly just shocked. And then something had told me to look up my aunt as well. And she had actually removed me from Facebook. She didn't block me, but she removed me from Facebook. And again, this happened out of nowhere for me. I had reached out to my aunt and my uncle via Facebook asking why. As for my uncle, I asked, why did you block me? I asked my aunt, why did you remove me from Facebook? What did I do to you? Because I was truly baffled and confused and devastated because I didn't know what I had done wrong. And based upon what my uncle had responded with, he essentially projected a bunch of shit onto me when it comes to the long-standing beef that Johnny has had with his siblings. I somehow feel as though I got dragged into that. Johnny and I had done a radio show shortly after he was released from prison. I believe it was called Voices Beyond the Wall. And he had asked me to appear on it with him, and so I did. And according to my uncle, I didn't thank them enough. I did not mention the family enough. I didn't profess enough of my love and adoration for the family. And so he felt a way about that. Also, and I know that my queer and trans people watching are going to get this. Like, we see each other. My uncle had responded with, we accepted your lifestyle, and this is how you treat us. Miss Thing, when someone refers to our gender identity and our sexual orientation as a lifestyle, bitch, you're trying it. You are throwing shade, you are trying it, you're being ignorant. That comes from a space of bigotry, in my mind, because that alludes to the idea that my gender identity and my sexual orientation is a choice, that it's a lifestyle. Sweetie, it's not a lifestyle. This is who I am. This is who we are. This is how we're born as. How dare you refer to my gender identity as a lifestyle? How dare you? To anyone that has said that. And so, with my aunt, from what I understand, she's been going through a very difficult time in her life. And so I want to make space for that, and I want to empathize with that. However, my perception of things is that because she had so much going on in her life, she couldn't take me on. She couldn't support me or love me in the way that I deserve to be loved, and treat me the way that I deserve to be treated. And so she just threw me away. Like people have done my entire life. My entire life, people have just pushed me into a corner and discarded me like I'm nothing. Lisa discarded me like I was nothing when I was 18 years old, forced me to cut all my hair off, and then forced me into a psych ward shortly after that. And then I had to leave my home so that Lisa could keep her husband. I've had countless cis men that I have talked to, dated, been intimate with, that have just immediately stopped talking to me for reasons unbeknownst to me. And if you get it, you get it. It's hard to explain how painful, how heartbreaking it is to be discarded of, to not even be considered, to not even be cared about in any way. Hurts more than words can say. My interactions with cis men, over the years, have been so tumultuous and so difficult. One of my earliest heartbreaks, I guess you could say, with cis men, I was seeing this guy named Zach when I was about 20 or 21. And y'all, when I tell you, I was head over heels in love with this guy. I mean, truly just enamored and fully attracted to him, mind, body, spirit. I was so young and just so in love. This guy was beautiful. I mean, beautiful. Like chiseled features. Chiseled. Chiseled features. My God. But the physical aside, he was so smart, and just so, or what I perceived to be kind, and someone that did not stick in his own privileged little bubble as a cis white man. He was also, coincidentally, he was also a b-boy, a break dancer, which, funny enough, Johnny in his youth, my parent was also a break dancer. So I just found it really funny that I, of course, in my early 20s, like, fell in love with a b-boy. Like, y'all, if times don't repeat themselves, like, Jesus. But with Zach, I had just really felt a connection to him, and saw that, he was someone that put himself in spaces of diversity and believed in diversity, and I appreciated that about him. Also, this guy could make me laugh, y'all. Like, he was so charming and so sweet. Until there was a moment when him and I were intimate, and I in no way promote unsafe sex, y'all, but again, I was just young, I was in love, and I was trusting. And so there was a moment in our very short-lived relationship that we'd been intimate and not used protection. And essentially, he had developed some sort of skin-eating bacteria on his knee that began to crawl up his leg. And so he immediately assumed that it was an STD of some sort. And immediately fell out of love with me. Even when he finally went to the doctor and found out what it was, found out that he did not have an STD and that I certainly did not give it to him, it was like, y'all, it was like a light switch. Before that had happened, we were talking all the time, and we were engaged with each other and cared about each other. He told me he loved me. And as a 21-year-old Latina trans femme in this world, to have a cis man show up for you and profess his love to you, and for you to believe him, for you to wholeheartedly believe him, because I loved him too. I really believed that he cared about me and that he loved me. And when that whole situation happened, I was devastated and I was heartbroken. And it still hurts to this day. It still very much hurts that he, after that, became someone that was so cruel and heartless and didn't love me or care about me anymore, just like that. Just like that. And so my interactions with with Johnny's side of the family really reinstilled these fears and these feelings that I have about being worthless, about not being worthy of being loved on or supported or cared about and taken care of. There have just always been these moments in my life that show up where I just feel like I'm easily disposable, like I'm not worthy of love, unconditional love, and losing the relationship that I had with my aunt and my uncle really broke my heart. And then shortly after that, I lost contact with my grandmother, Johnny's mother, who, again, was someone that early on told me that she loved me so much and that she cared about me and that she wanted me in her life. To just constantly be thrown out like trash has really just broken me. Just broken me. And I've just been trying so hard to navigate life with what I've been given, with this life that I've been given. I've tried so hard to stay strong and to survive in a world that doesn't seem to want me to survive and doesn't seem to want people like me to survive. And so I really had to mourn that. I had to mourn this opportunity to just feel loved and to connect with people that I have a biological connection to. And with Johnny, I had to remove him from my life as well. Not because I really wanted to, but because he is someone that is unfortunately very toxic. And I just don't know if having a relationship with him is the best course of action for me at this time. I tried to make it work. However, he is someone that does not respect my boundaries, does not respect the sordid history that I've had as a result of him not being in my life. And so I unfortunately had to step away from that relationship. And that's been incredibly painful too. To just go through this world feeling like I have no blood relatives whatsoever to support me or to be in my corner. Like I actually have a cousin, Jalissa, who has been wonderful and amazing and so sweet. And I have very few cousins on my Facebook. However, I really wish that this all could have been different. I really wish that I could hold all of my family, all of my blood relatives, and feel safe and affirmed and loved amongst all of them. But that's not, I guess, in my journey. And so that's partially what's been happening the past 2 years. A lot of family stuff, a lot of mourning. I'm also someone that and I think I've told you folks this, but I'm also someone that lives with depression and anxiety and PTSD and agoraphobia. Agoraphobia that's literally impacted my entire life and made me afraid to leave the house. And yet again, I know that my queer and trans people can relate to this fear of going outside, because outside can feel so unsafe for queer and trans people, especially if you're Black, brown. The odds are overwhelmingly stacked against us, and the violence that we experience at the hands of just total strangers in the street impacts us, has impacted me to the point that I'm afraid to leave the house a lot. I stay home a lot unless I have to work, which has been few and far between. And so I've tried so hard to get better and to heal myself. I am on medication, multiple medications. I do therapy weekly. Like I feel as though I do the work to heal myself and to be a better Angelica. However, there's a lot of trauma that I'm unpacking, that I am facing, that I am trying to heal so that I can be a better person, so that I can show up in the world as my authentic self, but also not just that, to also be resolute in who I am, to always be proud of who I am, to show up as a proud Latina trans woman. But this world that we are in makes it impossible. It makes it impossible to show up in the world and feel safe. A lot of folks think that New York is this progressive city and it's great and it's wonderful and you know, LGBT people are safe here. Are we? To that I say, are we? Are we that safe? Because from my understanding and also my perspective as a lifelong New Yorker, I have been assaulted as a result of my transness. I have been attacked. I have been yelled at on the streets of New York. People have called me a man, a dude, a faggot, a tranny. I have had cis men put their total strangers putting their hands on me, grabbing me, some of them masturbating in front of me on the trains, even in the streets sometimes. I do not feel safe here. And so that has made it so difficult to navigate New York City and to hold my head up high. Despite the fact that I absolutely hold my head up high. But I am always hyper vigilant and hyper aware of my surroundings, and immediately after leaving the house, I start sweating. I start shaking. My heart starts racing. And that is the PTSD. That is the anxiety. That is all of my trauma just comes flooding back. And I think to myself, oh my God, this might happen again. This election and the ways in which cis people have targeted and humiliated and demonized and criminalized trans people and Black and brown people, Latin people, immigrants. I have just really had to, within the past couple of days, I've really had to sit with just how many millions of people voted for bigotry and hatred, homophobia, transphobia, racism, misogyny. I don't know if you folks read the comments online, but I am someone, unfortunately, I wish I didn't, but I personally like to read the comments because I like to gauge where people are at. I like to hear other perspectives, but also I want to see where people are at. And when Kamala Harris had announced that she'd be running, there was a part of me that was so excited and so proud to see a Black and South Asian cis woman who allegedly is supportive of LGBT rights. And I say allegedly because she was a little wishy-washy, in my personal opinion and in my thoughts. I felt she was a little wishy-washy when broached the topic of, do we deserve gender affirming care in this country as trans people, and how she said she'll leave that up to legalities or the courts. I thought that was very wishy-washy of her. I didn't appreciate. Also, the fact that this government has been arming Israel with our tax dollars, I don't fuck with that. Free Palestine. So that said, there were several things with regards to Kamala that I was like, girl, do better. Do better. However, do I think that she was qualified? Absolutely. Absolutely was she qualified. What qualifies Donald Trump for anything? A misogynist, a rapist, a racist. What qualifies him for anything? When you put his qualifications with Kamala's, honey, he's down here, she's up there. Okay? So that said, this election should have been a no-brainer for those that are sane, for those that are rational, for those that think with their hearts. It should have been a no-brainer. However, you had over 70 million people voting for a wannabe dictator, a transphobe, a homophobe, a racist, again, a rapist. Over 70 million people voted for that. And in, I believe it was 15 million people that decided to sit this election out. How good for you. For all of those that decided to sit this election out, how convenient for you. How comfortable it must be for you to sit in that mindset that you're just going to sit this election out and that you just don't care who wins. How convenient for you. But mind you, how dangerous, how terrifying it is for those that are going to be attacked, for those that are going to lose our rights, for those that are going to be kicked out of this country, those that were seeking asylum, tearing families apart. It's not that easy for us. It's not that easy for us to accept. And yet, you had Black and brown folks, Indigenous folks, Latin folks, queer folks, trans folks, immigrants. Y'all voted against your best interest? What a choice to make. What an incredible choice to make. How dare all of you? How dare all of you that voted for this? Now, my community, the trans community, is in a panic. Now, I have to make sure that all of my documentation matches my gender identity, that reflects my legal name. I have never in my life considered leaving the United States, but I am now because I am terrified. There is a possibility, or not even a possibility, because I feel like it goes without saying, Trump is absolutely coming for trans people and our rights and our gender affirming care. That is going to be heavily, heavily fought against. He is going to upend our entire lives. There is a possibility that we may not even have access to gender affirming medication. Because as Trump said in his video recently, he wants to stop all gender transitions at any age. That is what he said. Those are the words that he used. At any age. Which means trans adults, even trans youth, across the United States may potentially lose access or have no access to gender affirming medications that they need, that I need, that my body needs. Because I am a post-op trans woman, my body does not produce hormones or even testosterone. And so I need hormones so that my body can function. Trans people, non-binary folks, intersex folks, who have overwhelmingly been left out of this reproductive justice discourse. My God, to consistently leave trans men and non-binary folks and intersex folks out of the discussion, out of the discourse around reproductive rights in this country disgusts me. But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. quite frankly, when Trump was elected, I was devastated and heartbroken, but I wasn't surprised, as many weren't, because let's be clear, Kamala voice, let's be clear that we live in two racist and two misogynistic, too anti-immigrant, too homophobic, too transphobic of a society to allow for a cis Black and South Asian woman who claims to be for LGBT rights. This society refuses to let that go. Refuses for a woman who is pro-LGBT to lead. You again had Black and brown and indigenous and queer and trans folks voting for evil. That's what they voted for. If any of y'all are watching, y'all voted for evil. And let's be quite clear yet again. This election was never about who is right for the role, who deserves it, who is appropriate, who is qualified for the role. This election process has become a popularity contest. And it's so sad and draconian that we as a society have uplifted and platformed bullies and predators, rapists like Trump. We have truly just put ourselves in bed with the most vile kinds of human beings. And we love it. Like this society loves it, clearly. Again, over 70 million people voted for a piece of shit reality TV star. Which is why I have such an issue with reality TV. I feel as though reality TV has created this monster and has really profited off of making terrible, terrible people famous. Awful people. The entire Real Housewives franchise just grosses me out. Watching these women tear each other down and say the most cruel things to each other, all in the name of entertainment. People find it entertaining. People find it entertaining to be cruel, to be a bully. And apparently they find it entertaining to find someone like Trump president, a reality TV star, failed businessman, again, a rapist. As a sexual assault survivor, I am disgusted. I am disgusted and I am truly just repulsed by the ways in which we uplift these predators, especially if they come in the form of cis white men. I am tired. I am so tired of living in this world that has shown us that white supremacy is virtually unbeatable. And not just that, it's something to be platformed and to be uplifted. White supremacy is to be uplifted in this country, in this world. Y'all, I've just been so exhausted and so tired. But to that I say I am not giving up. I am on the board of a nonprofit. If you folks don't know, the Stonewall Inn Gives Back Initiative, also known as SIGB. We are a nonprofit that works with nonprofit LGBT organizations across the globe. And so we raise funds to distribute to these nonprofits all over the world that are helping our queer and trans community. And so there's so much work ahead of us. There is so much that needs to be done. As an activist, I, again, am not giving up just yet. There are so many moments when I want to. There are so many moments when my suicide ideation has been showing up for me recently, and I've just not wanted to be here anymore because I've been scared of what's to come. I am tired of struggling financially. I'm tired of not being taken seriously. I'm tired of not getting my roses for the work that I put in to community since I was a teenager, since I was 16 years old. I have been the change that I wanted to see in the world since I was 16, with the first documentary that I ever did, which chronicles my transition as a trans teen and the difficulties that I went through at that time. That was a very scary thing to do, to share my entire life story with probably thousands of strangers and to leave that up for discourse. But I wanted to be that positive representation for trans people. I wanted them to know that they are not alone. I didn't want them to feel like that, like I did growing up. I wanted them to know that we exist. Trans people exist. Trans people are valid. And we are deserving of love and care and gender affirming care and housing and our rights. We are deserving of all of that. And I've tried my entire life to get that message across as far and wide as I possibly can. But to be honest, I don't feel as though, again, I just don't feel as though I've gotten my flowers in that regard when it comes to the work that I've done in community. I haven't been necessarily recognized similarly to the ways in which I see other trans activists and advocates have done. There's been so many times in my life that I've handed out awards to other activists, do-gooders, but I've never been on the receiving end of it, really. I can think of one case where my chosen sister Lacey held a small event and actually recognized me and awarded me for my contributions to the community. And that moment was so special and so incredibly moving, and I was so grateful for that. But that was only one instance. And so that too has been weighing very heavily on me for the past 2 years, just feeling as though I'm moving through the world very unseen and very unappreciated and undervalued in community. It's been very hard, and it's really hurt me to feel as though I don't have a bigger community of people that respect and value and appreciate the work that I put into community. It's made me feel very invisible, and it's hurt a lot. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop advocating for my community. I can't. I won't. I refuse. This community, while no community is perfect, I believe in this community, and I hold this community in my heart. This is my life. This is our lives. And so I will continue to fight for our rights. With my agoraphobia, it makes it so hard to go out. So hard. Like, there have been so many rallies that I've wanted to go to and support, and I've wanted to show up, but I've been too afraid to. I've been too stuck in my trauma sometimes to step out of that. But I'm going to try. And in these next couple of weeks, I am begging my trans people, my intersex folks, my non-binary folks. It breaks my heart that we are potentially stepping into another very binary system. However, that's what we're facing in these next couple of weeks. So I urge all of you folks to get your documents in order. If you need a name change, if you need funds to pay for your name change and to get your new documents, if you need to change your gender markers on your identification, I beg of you, do it now. Because within the next couple of weeks, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to have the rights that we do now to change this documentation to reflect who you are. We don't know. But in a sense, I feel like we do know what's about to happen. And none of it is good. If you're a trans person, a non-binary person, an intersex person, things are not looking good for us at all. And so I urge you folks to please reach out to local organizations in your area to help you with the name change process, to get your new gender marker on your identification. I myself, I just had to reach out to the Sylvia Rivera Law Project in New York because while I did do my legal name change in 2006, I believe, I never changed my birth certificate. And so I'm now in a space of scrambling to get all of my documentation in order. I even had to reach out to the Social Security Administration just to double check that my preferred gender marker was on file. And so, once again, if you need your name change process, do it now. Research local nonprofits, LGBT nonprofits that might be able to help you. In New York, there, again, is the Sylvia Rivera Law Project. There is Bridges for Life. There's also Glitz Inc., all of which I will attach the websites in the description for this video so you folks in New York can reach out to them and see what kind of resources are available to you and if they can be of help. I am not saying any of this to scare you, but I know I am scared and that a lot of us are scared, and so we need to get ahead of this as soon as you possibly can. I am sending you all so much love, and I'm not big on prayers, but I am praying for my communities, the millions of people that are going to be directly impacted and affected and attacked by this incoming dictatorship. I want you all to be safe. I want you all to take care of each other, to rally yourselves around community, because we have a hell of a fight coming up. And I myself, again, even with my agoraphobia, I'm going to try my best to show up, to rally, to be the activist that I have always been, and the activist that I know is in many of you. And so please, again, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself in this scary and unprecedented time. Surround yourself with people that love you and support you. I'm trying very hard to not cut myself off from those that care about me. However, with my depression, I do sometimes fall into a hole, and it's difficult for me to communicate with people. But I'm trying my best. I think we're all just trying our best to navigate the situation the best way we know how. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I apologize. This video is so long. It's the longest that I've done. Again, so sorry, y'all. Because I really do try to like keep these videos short, because I know attention spans can be waning. However, it's been 2 years, so there's just been a lot to catch you all up on, and so I want to give my support to my community. Lastly, and I know I should have done this like in the beginning of the video, but just wanted to show you folks really quickly my scars, because I know that I started my channel off on chronicling my FFS journey. So, you know, here's just a little sneak peek of what's been happening. So I feel as though my scars have healed tremendously, which has been great. This is what they're looking like now. So obviously I dealt with a bit of hair loss because of the scars, but it doesn't really show when I have my hair down. It doesn't really show much. But here are my scars, which, you know, for the most part, you can barely see. Again, when I have my hair down, it's not super noticeable. And then, I don't know if you folks can see. Okay, I'm going to try to do this. That is my chin, where I had essentially had lower chin lipo. One of my few things that I wasn't particularly happy about with the FFS, particularly with the lipo, is that the scar feels to me very long. With lipo, I've seen incisions that are like this, like are so small. So I just found it really odd that Dr. Bradley and his team chose to make such a large incision. And eventually I would like to get a follicular unit extraction, which is basically a hair transplant, to just sort of cover up where the scars are. But again, because I don't have the financial backing, and I don't know what's going to happen next year with insurance, and insurance may very well not cover these gender affirming procedures anymore after next year. And so I'm just kind of in a space of, I don't really know what to do. We'll see how this all plays out, but it's just not looking good, y'all. So again, take care. Cuddle up to your teddy bears if you need to. I know I am. And just batten down the hatches, prepare yourselves as best as you possibly can, because this is going to be a rough one. All right, my loves, sending you so much love. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. Thank you. And again, just take care. All right, sending you all love. Mwah. Bye.